Okay, welcome back. So for today we had basically 3 chapters in the Zybook, right? And depending on how much time you spend on each section, each subsection, and each participation activity, this is a lot of work, or it's okay. And of course, as a teacher, right, I like you to spend as much time as possible on my course. But you also need to be realistic. And if you have like 2 hours to prepare for this class, right, and you still need to do the 3 chapters, then you need to make sure that you spend your time wisely and cover the essentials of each chapter. Right? And if you get stuck in the challenge activity of the first chapter, and you cannot make it, and that's the reason why you can do chapter 7 and 8. And I think this is not the best distribution of your time and attention to the different topics. And that also, I think that attitude is also for the assignment, right? There are different parts of the assignment. You get points for each part. Don't make the mistake to get stuck in one part of the assignment and not get any points for the other ones because you got stuck. If you get stuck, try to see if you can do the next part. Typically, you will be able to do this. If you're not, also write down in your documentation or in your comment section in your code what you have done and why you get stuck, right? What you have tried and didn't work, what you have retried, and what websites you tried to visit, what types of activities from the Zybook you tried to copy but didn't work in your case. Try to be a bit creative and don't get stuck on things if it's not necessary. Okay, so basically I want to leave the first JavaScript basics section to the Zybook and go to the next chapter. So this is the part of the JavaScript and HTML of section 7 in the Zybook, which is mainly about how you manipulate HTML. Well, the perspective of the standard, the document object model standard, is that you have objects, which are nodes in your tree, right? So the HTML document can be seen as a tree, where every node in the tree is an object, and for each object there is this application programmer's interface, the API. Right? And if you know how to access each object in this tree, and how you can modify it or delete it or add new objects to it in the right position in the tree, then you can actually do whatever you want with the HTML that is in your web page. And I hope that this type of slides slowly start to get familiar. Right? So the document object model is there also already for a long time. There were different versions by different browsers. People get annoyed by it, requested standardization. In this case, it was not ECMA, but it was WWC as an organization that defined this standard. Of course, there are different versions of the standards. In JavaScript, the access to this document is not part of the standard, of the language standard, but it is part of how the JavaScript environment in your browser, what it offers to you as a developer if you use it in the browser. So this document host object is a host object because it's an object provided by the host, in this case the browser of the language. So if you would be using JavaScript on the server side, where the web server will be the host, right? Then it's very well possible you have different set of objects, and then this document object doesn't make sense and is not available. Right? So it's explicitly not part of the language, but part of the standardized browser environment. And we will only look at the document object model in JavaScript. but there are similar APIs for different languages. So there are also ways to manipulate HTML or XML documents in Java or in C++ or in Python using the same API. But we will focus on the JavaScript only. Right, so the browser wars again, and since the 90s, I think things became more standardized and more easy. And we'll focus on DOM level 2. Just to pick one baseline. I don't really care about which version you use, but it makes it easier to be sure you all know what we're talking about. So if I say DOM, I mean DOM level 2, and then only the JavaScript API. Right, so again, try to, if you work with DOM in the assignment, try to have this tree-like picture of your HTML document in your head, because it makes a lot of the terminology much more logical. Right? So if I talk about the descendants of the P element, like if you have this picture in mind, then it's immediately clear that I talk about the emphasis and the strong element that are part of the P, and probably the text that's also there. And if I talk about the ancestors of the P, I can talk about the body and the HTML element. And if I talk about the direct ancestor, I talk about the body, not the HTML. Right, so all these things are immediately clear if you have this tree-like picture in your head, while if you have the serial syntax in the HTML document, it's much harder to talk about these three notions. Is that clear? So the basic take-home message of this class is that the DOM allows you to manipulate every aspect of the tree that you see, and now and every time you change something, right, this is immediately reflected in the user interface of the user watching the HTML document that corresponds to this tree. Well, what is in the tree? Right, in the tree are nodes. There are different type of nodes. So every element is a node. Also, every piece of text is a node. Every attribute is a node. Your comments are nodes. You can even change the comments in your tree, etc., etc. And for each of these objects, depending on the type, it has different properties and methods that you can use. And the properties and methods that all the nodes have in common is defined by the node host object. So this is also an object that every browser basically makes available for you as a web developer. And so this is an example that is really showing the basics of how you manipulate this document tree. Right, so the idea is that if I click on this button, that the ordered list will disappear and this paragraph will stay. Right, and we will be using JavaScript and DOM to do so. First, I'm going to show you the body of the original HTML document. Right, so you're going to see there's a body with an all nodes attribute. Right, so this is something special. This we will come back to later, but the make collapsible is in fact a JavaScript function that's being called when the document is loaded. But apart from that, you will see a very common HTML document, right? So there's nothing specific about this. It has an ordered list to make the 1, 2, 3 ordered bullets. We have 3 list items to make the bullets themselves. End of ordered list, open paragraph, so paragraph text, close paragraph, close body. Right? So and I hope you can now immediately draw in your mind the tree belonging to this, right? Its body with 2 elements, 2 children, the ordered list and the paragraph, and the ordered list has 3 children, the list items, and every list item has one child, a piece of text. Can you see the tree in your mind? And so this, I think, this visualization as a tree. I think if you see a piece of HTML, it's very useful when you do this JavaScript DOM stuff. So, like I said, right, the thing that makes the whole thing work is this function call, and you will see that it's a function that has one argument, and the argument is the ID of the ordered list, right? Because that's the thing that we want to collapse. That's the thing we want to manipulate. So we make a general JavaScript function, and we give it as a parameter the ID of the element. So that's also something that is typical. You have some general function that can, in this case, make things appear and disappear. And then what you want to make disappear or appear, that you pass as an argument. In this case, using the ID. Right. So this is the same ID that you would use with the pound sign in CSS. Also note that in the example there is this button, right, click to collapse, but it's not there in the HTML. So apparently that is also added later in the JavaScript. So when you look at the source code in your browser as it is live, you will see that there is a div with a button added to the HTML. So this is also something that is manipulated in the document tree, because when it initially was loaded, the tree looked like this, right? And then apparently when this function was called, the document tree was manipulated, and there was some div with the button added before the ordered list. So if you look at the piece of JavaScript that was used for this, right? Again, I don't want you to be able to write this from scratch yourself, but I do want you to be able to copy paste things from examples in the web together for the assignment. So one requirement there is that you are able to read things like this and understand what's happening. So remember that in the function call, I use the ID of the ordered list as an argument, right? So this, when I call this with this argument, element ID will be the ordered list. And then you see that in the first statement of the function, so I have a function, make collapsible, and the first statement is a variable assignment. So I make a variable called element, and I ask from the window environment, which is an object, from the window object, which is an object I get from the browser, please from your document property, get me the element with ID name this element. Right, so here element ID is just a string with the ID collapse 1. But now when I make this assignment, I think, give me the element, the actual element, the node in the tree. That is the ordered list. Right? So after this assignment has succeeded, element is a pointer to my ordered list. And if I delete element, the ordered list will go. When I change the CSS of my ordered element, it will change the values. So do you understand the difference between element ID, which is just a string with value collapse 1, and element, which is really a variable that points to the specific node, corresponding node in the tree. And so you can do operations on the element variable, but not on the element ID, right? Because it's just a string. Okay, then I have this if statement, right? So this is also I think good practice. You can assume what could have gone wrong in this first statement, right? It's so simple that it will probably work. But there are actually a lot of things that could go wrong. Anyone, what can fail in the first assignment?
No such object.
Sorry?
No such object.
Oh.
No such object, because of that we run into issue, because that have the if statement.
Yeah, so unassigned object, how can it be unassigned? If I just assign it in the first line. So how can this assignment go wrong to make this element here not have a value, a proper value? Right, so this, if the element succeeds, if the element has a proper value, right? And it fails if the element value is known, for example, or undefined or whatever. So one thing I could have gone wrong is that I pass it an ID of the element that doesn't exist. Right? So if the element ID is not exist, I might make a typo, it might collapse 1, and I call it by accident collapse L, for example. It will be hard to notice, but it will go wrong. So there's another important error that I think most of you will make at least once in assignment 1, and it is that the element ID has the correct value, but at the moment your function is called, it has not been processed by the browser yet, and the web page is not already on display, and the current tree does not yet have the ordered list, so it will fail because of the timing. You call this function before the browser had time to do the proper initialization of the tree. Right, so this is why in the example you have this onload attribute. This actually makes sure that the whole function is only called after loading has been completed. So in this case, the programmer that wrote this did not make this mistake, and he made sure that the function is called in the timing only after the browser did execute the insertion of the tree in the docking model. So this timing that can go wrong, I think is one of the most hard parts of assignment 2, right? That everything you do in programming-wise is easy to do, but making sure that it is executed at the right time, at the right moment, and not before something else should have happened, that is the crucial part of the assignment. So, if statements like this, right, helps you to protect a bit your code against errors like that, right? It also makes you aware of, okay, what can go wrong, and did I actually call this function, and will I call this function at the right time? Okay, so suppose that we did do everything right, and element is nicely been assigned the pointer to the node in the tree that represents the ordered list. Right, then what do? Well, the first thing we do is we create some new nodes. Right, so I make a variable called div for the obvious reasons. That is of type div. Right, so this is after this first assignment. What do I have? Well, I have an empty div element, right? That has no content, but also has no position in the tree yet. Right, it's just floating around in virtual limbo because it has not been positioned in the tree yet. And the same for the buttons and the text nodes that I create. So over here, I give all these new nodes a position in the tree. So in the first case, I start with the element variable. Remember, that was the ordered list, right? And then from the ordered list, I go to the parent node. What was the parent node from the ordered list? Anyone? Body, right? So that's element of parent node should point to the body. And then on the body element, I call the method insert before. And insert before is a method defined in this DOM standard, right? That you can just look up in the standard. That will insert the first argument before the second argument. Right, so the body will look, oh, I have a div element that should become before the ordered list, which is exactly what we wanted to get the div and the button later before the ordered list. And then the second one is easier, right? Because then I have a div element and I should only add the button as a child this element, and again same for the text, which I add as a child of the button. Right, so it's clear that this is making the whole button thing work. Right? So after calling this, I have my button. You can set the elements, but you can also set attributes. By the way, so the first attribute is this type button, which is not that interesting, but it's necessary to make the button work. So that is expected. The second thing is actually more interesting because there we have an on-click attribute, which sounds a bit like the on-load attribute that we have seen before. So basically, this attribute pattern is we have on and then the name of an event that happens, right? That determines when something happens. So in this case, the when is okay if the button is clicked. So what we do when the button is clicked, well, we call another function, JavaScript function, which is called in this case toggle visibility, and has also a number of parameters. And one is the parameter this, right? So this again, this is the object that we are currently working in. So not the object we're working in now in the defining function, but the function that is the object that is calling this function, which will be the button, plus some element IE. And how this works out, we will see in the next week. Right. So what happens if we click on the button before? It will show the ordered list and the paragraph, and afterwards the ordered list has disappeared. Also the space it occupies, right, on the page also disappeared. So it's not only that it has become invisible, also that all the blocks and the boxes that it occupied have gone, and only the paragraph has remained. And we also see that the text of the button has changed, right, from click to collapse to click to expand. So if we look at the final piece of code, the toggle visibility, then one is the button, the other is the element ID. And we'll see that if the element is currently not displayed, by checking in the style, so the CSS properties, the display property. If the display property is known, then apparently it's now gone. So we make it reappear by setting it to block, and vice versa, right? If it is not known, it's probably block, and we set it to none, and we change the text of this button element. Right, so the moment you change the property in CSS, it immediately changes also on the screen. Right, so if I make it red, it will, if I set the color property to red, it will immediately become red. In this case, if I set the display function to none, the property to none, it will immediately disappear. Is that clear? And the way to access the text node, it's a bit clumsy, right? Because the only way, or the most convenient way to get to this text is not so very convenient. So in this case, for the button, I ask first for all the child nodes, right, of this button. Well, there's only one, so I get the first one, which is in the list of all the child elements, the one with index 0, right? And then from the first child node, I ask, okay, what is your data? That's the text that I want to change. Right, so, and how to do that, right? That's standardized by the DOM. And you will see if this would not have been standardized, right, then this would be different for all browsers. And it would be very hard to develop this type of applications. And this is a very simple example, right, just to show you how it works. But you can understand if you do more complex things, like the Google Map, for example, that we have shown, or Google Docs, right, or this is Microsoft Office 365. If you make these type of applications, that you can rely on all these things being standardized and work in all browsers is very important. Okay, so unless it was a very small, simple example, right? We just click and then an order list disappears or reappears. If you think about all the things that we've done, we have created new elements and nodes and added them to the tree at the place that we wanted them to appear. We've modified content, we have modified attributes, we have modified styles. We have not removed stuff, but we also do that with the DOM. So basically, just by looking at this simple example, right, it shows you how to change anything on the page. Because you could just do this trick that we now did for the order list on any arbitrary element in your tree. That basically allows you to change whatever you want. So I think that's it's a very powerful thing that you can do. Now again, the scripts that you write are typically small, right? So here the entire example fitted on 2 slides. Your assignment 2 will be a little bit more code, but not that many. I think last year there were people writing less than one A4, one page of JavaScript code for the entire assignment. So it's not a lot of code that you need to write. And so please don't use very extensive, hard to learn frameworks or editors for this. Just only use the jQuery language, but the jQuery library that we required for the assignment, which we will discuss in the afternoon. But especially for your editor, again, use the same editor that you used for HTML and CSS. It will do fine for the JavaScript. And so you need to find some way to add your JavaScript to your assignment 1 HTML. And every time you fix something in the JavaScript, you will reload your HTML to make sure that your browser will re-execute the new version of your JavaScript assignment. And I think the debugging here is harder than it was for the HTML and CSS. Right? So here it becomes even more important that you have a style that allows you to make errors, but also to find them quickly. So that definitely means that you need to have your console open in your developer tools. I will skip the other thing. But I want to repeat this strategy of starting small with something that is known to work, or has at least no errors, right? And then add one by one. So every time I need to develop something myself in JavaScript, and I haven't done it for a while, right? I'm not a professional JavaScript developer at all, and I don't expect you to be one or to become one in this course. So I know my limitations, right? I start with something very, very simple. I run it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, make it even simpler until it works, and then build up. And the first half hour or the first hour, that really means adding one line at a time. So I add one line of code, I reload, yes, it works. No, it doesn't work. What is wrong? I forgot a semicolon. Right? If you just added one line, it's very easy to spot the semicolon that you just missed. If you just added 5 lines, and 3 of them have a semicolon missing, you find one, you fix it, and it still doesn't work. So you think, oh, did I now do something good, or did I make it worse? Right? If you keep it small, it's much easier to fix it, because then if you fix it, it's likely to work again. And it's much easier to focus on only the one line that you just added than to the 10 lines or the 20 lines that you added at the same time. And of course, if you become more confident and you become more experienced, you can do 2 lines at the same time, right? And 3 lines at the same time. Maybe an entire function at the same time. But keep it simple in the beginning. And also, again, don't spend too much time on this notion of I have a bug and I got stuck and I can't fix it, and I keep going until it's fixed, right? At a certain moment, you need to stop, go to the next part of the assignment, talk to your lab partner, talk to your TA, write a question on the mailing list. I often write questions to my colleagues, right? And I know that while I'm writing the mail, there's like a 50% chance that I will never send the mail, because by the end I've completely explained it to my colleagues. I understand it myself. Right? So this is called rubber ducking. You can do this in email. You can do this live, face to face. You just talk to your grandmother, right? You explain the problem in a way that even your grandmother can explain. And by the time you have really explained it well, you think, oh, wait a minute, I forgot about this, right? And then you know the answer yourself. So these are skills you need to develop. I think for not only for this course, but also for future courses and the rest of your career. One more notion about this security aspect of JavaScript. Right? So this is a mistake I made in one of my projects, and I got a warning email from the security team that there was this problem, security problem on my website. And if I didn't fix it, that would bring the entire server down. And what happened is that I had a search engine on my website. So how brilliant the search engine was, right? That was part of the project's demo that I really like to show. But I was sloppy in what was allowed in the text box of the search engine. So what I did is I allowed any value to be added to the text, right? Then I did really a good checking if this value was correct before I searched on it. And then in the results, I gave the search results, but on top I also gave a copy of the original search query where I didn't do any checking. So that means that there is an HTML page on the Vue website, right, that is generated with on the top the exact value of what the user just queried for. And then if you look at one of the queries that was filled in, right, it was angle bracket end, angle bracket open, image source, and then some piece of JavaScript. Right? In this case, the JavaScript was really executed, and it gave me this alert pop-up window, right, which was harmless, but this was just to show, right, by the hacker that he or she could have put any type of JavaScript here, and it would run on the website. And if there was harmful code in it, the Vue would be blamed for it, because everything here on this page comes from the Vue, right? And we will not allow this. So in this case, my mistake, right, my bad. No real harm done, but potentially this type of mistakes can do a lot of harm. So one of the things you need to think about, right, in your assignment, we had this form that you fill in with your phones, right, and you submit it to our database. Then you could sort of less rely on that nothing would happen with that content except that it will be stored in our database. Now in assignment 2, you're going to do many other things with it. You're going to put it in the dormitory, right? So think about what can happen if you do this wrong. So this is not part of the assignment, right? So if you ignore this whole security part completely for the assignment, you can still get 10 out of 10 points. But I think as a learning goal, right, it's good to be aware of this and think about this. Right, so this is amazing. I think we have time to do a little bit of the event programming from next lecture, so I'll get to that. Because it gives us more time in the afternoon. Okay, so for the assignment, right, we have done HTML, CSS, the basics of JavaScript and DOM. If you didn't do the chapter 6 and 7 of the Zybook, please do so before the lab. There are still a few things remaining. I think 3 points. One is this event-driven programming. Right, so this is the things that relate to this on-load and on-click, etc. When does my code execute? And that's important for the assignment. The other thing is a technology called Ajax, and Ajax is about how do I communicate on my web page in the JavaScript with the web server to get new information after the document has already been loaded. Right, so that's the part that the stock exchange ticker used to get new updates from the stock market. It should have some way to reliably and securely communicate with the browser, also with the server, and do so in a standardized way. That's Ajax that we go to after lunch, and then all the examples I've shown so far use plain basic JavaScript, but if you want to do something real world, that is just too low level. Right? I hardly know anyone nowadays that works with JavaScript in this way. Everybody uses some kind of library, some kind of framework, and you will see that using these frameworks, like, of course, there's a downside. It's yet another thing you need to learn. So in this case, you need to learn how to work with jQuery, right? So there's some extra overhead, but I hope you will see that how much easier it becomes to do things with these libraries is really worth the effort. And in this case, I want you to show that you can quickly get the basics of jQuery. Right? If in the rest of your career you want to use other frameworks, that's fine. But I think you need to be able to see the advantage that outweighs the extra overhead of learning the framework or the library. So I want to show quickly a bit of event-driven programming. So one question is this notion of events. To what extent was it covered in the C++ version of the programming course? Did anyone, if I say something like an event handler, does that ring a bell? Who knows what an event handler is? Nobody, right? And for the Python course, same I assume, right? So I'm working on the assumption that this is new for all of you, and has not been dealt with in the curriculum. So, but if I make a mistake, please let me know. So the JavaScript and DOM together allows you to modify everything you want, right? And then the question is, when do you make these modifications? When do you trigger the code that you have written? So the question is when. Right? So for the button should be added to the tree, right? We saw that we could not access this ordered list before the ordered list itself existed. Right? So if you do this too early, then it will fail. And also this toggling thing, right? It should of course only be called this function when people actually click on the button. So how to do that? Now we already saw this attributes in HTML, right? So we have this on-load and on-click, which is one way to do it, but there are other ways to do it as well. And we will see some examples, and then in JavaScript there are many ways to do it, right? In jQuery there are many ways to do it, but they're all the same principle. So what I want you is to understand the basic principles, and then if you see some variant of it, you think, oh, just another event with the handler function. Right, so in this case, this is the name of the event, load. So on the load event, call this function. And this function is called the handler function. And one way to describe this is that to say that by making this attribute, I make the handler function subscribed to the event. So now some APIs call it a subscription. So after this, the load event, every time it triggers, it looks at all the functions that are subscribed to it. In this case, it's only one, and it will call all these functions. And the same for the onClick, right? So the top of visibility is a handler function that is subscribed to the click event of the button. And it's a really different style from this batch programming that you might have done before, right? Where you start a program, you do some initialization, you typically read the input process and do what the input that you need to do, show the results by printing the results, and then you're done. And in the event programming framework, you do it differently. The first step is the same, right? It's initialization, and initialization is mainly making sure that all these handler functions subscribe to the right events. And once you have done all these subscriptions, you're done. You just wait till these events happen, right? And then what happens behind the scenes is that the program comes in this infinite while loop, while forever it waits for some events to happen, and for each event it looks, okay, which handlers do I have subscribed, what should I call, in which order, and then if everything is done, we wait for the next event. And if you think about it, right, it's most of the applications you work with on a daily basis do this, right? So if you start Word, what Word does, it does the initialization phase, it builds up the windows, the menus, and then when everything is there on the screen, it just goes into an infinite while loop, waiting for you to press a button or click a menu item or do something else in the GUI, right? And if you don't do anything, Word will do nothing either, right? And that's true for all GUI applications. But you can think about other things, right? So timed applications like a backup service, right? It just does nothing, and when some timer at 12 o'clock, for example, goes off, it starts doing what it's supposed to do, making your backups, and when it's done, it just waits for the next event to trigger it. We will see in assignment 3 that the web server is actually also a piece of code that just does all the initialization, right, and then it just starts listening for incoming requests, and if nothing happens, it just waits till the first request comes in, and it starts to do something. But also the stock example that we just saw, right, is also an example like this, where it just waits for new information to come in. It briefly shows it on the table, and then just waits for the next piece of information to arrive. So this type of programming is really working a lot. It's really used a lot. And what I finally want to show, basically, is that step 1, right, is your job to do this initialization, and step 2 is always the environment that you work in. Right? So if you work for assignment 2, the environment you work in is the browser, and the while loop will be taken care of by your browser. So all you do is making these functions, making sure that the browser knows when to call them on which event, and if you have done this, you're done. Then the browser should just take over, and then if these events happen, your code will be called. So basically, it means that you never call your own code, and that's a different way of programming, right? And it makes it harder to test, right? So sometimes I write a little piece of test code that just calls my code intentionally just to test it, but typically that doesn't work because your code needs a pointer to the ordered list, right? So it makes it hard to do this. So what you really need to do is to test it, is really make sure it loads in the real environment and really click on the button to make it happen and to see if the code that you wrote as a handler function for the click button is really the code that you want to do. So I want to leave it at that. In the afternoon we're in the medical faculty again, right? And I want to discuss the assignment 2 and the final things that you need. Thanks.